Friday, then stage 5 of 7 in this year's Tour of Poland, the Tour de Pologne in its 82nd edition. Paul Lapera, the Frenchman, leading into a mountain day. A day for the mountain men, you might think. But would it turn out like that? Well, watch these highlights to find out. We had the Tatra Mountains to come, 2 high peaks as well, leading us to the high point of the whole race, 1,120 metres. Not super high mountains, but plenty of them. And as you can see, a finish at the winter ski capital of Poland, Zakopane. We had a breakaway of 4 riders from pretty early on today. Jensen Plowright, the Australian for Alpecin-Deceuninck, Huberts, the Dutchman for Entomarché-Wanty, Martin Svercek, the Slovak rider for Soudal-QuickStep, and Patrick Gamper back in the break there again in the purple jersey of Jacob Alula, the Austrian rider. We had the opening fairly flat to the stage and plenty of opportunity to be picking up both cash and bonus seconds. This was the sprint point for a cash prime sponsored by Decathlon and won by Jensen Plowright, reminding us as if we needed that. You've only got to look at him. He's the fastest finisher in that group. Behind them, Timo Kilic in the Mountains jersey was of course doing his job again, making sure he's picking up any points that were remaining for that white jersey with the blue dots that he holds, the Alpecin-Deceuninck Belgian. Meanwhile, up the road, they were eating deeper and deeper into the Tatra Mountains, and this happened to Huberts, a wipeout on a corner, going down hard on his left-hand side and requiring a bike change as well. Unfortunately for him, the bike change also caused him problem. He seemed to lose confidence in the grip of his tyres on the new bike, and had a few kilometres of slightly testy riding, Huberts, but he was obviously in very good form. In the distance, the big mountains into which they would be riding. Not to the very highest peaks, but right in amongst them for sure. Well, when we came to the next of the mountains points, it was actually Jensen Plowright, making sure he was taking points away from Patrick Gamper, who'd scored the maximum points on the first category of the day. Of course, he was looking after those points for Timo Kilic, or at least taking them away to the benefit of his teammate, Timo Kilic, who leads that competition. The gap had been pegged back. At one point it had been in advance of 6 minutes. With 30k to go, it was under 2 minutes, and we sorted a little bit of the breakaway out. Huberts pressing on after an attack by Jensen Plowright, and they would be the final 2. Eventually Plowright dropping back and radioing his team to let them know, and Huberts pressed on despite the crash and what must be a painful left hip for him. He was caught with 11k to go on the final climb. Surprise attack, actually, from Danny Martinez, the Colombian, on Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. Really haven't seen too much of him this week, but he teased out Jan Christen as well. And Matthew Riccitello, the American for Israel Premier Tech. Those 3 looked like a really good triplet, but it didn't happen for them. There were too many riders in this group sitting in and waiting for what they thought could come down to a sprint finish. Jan Christen is never done, though. The Swiss rider going over the top of another little rise on the descent in actual fact, and that kicked off Dario Frigo, the Italian for Israel Premier Tech, looking like he was driving clear at this point, but in the end it was quite snappy for Jan Christen and Alberto Bettiol to bring him back, and behind them we were just starting to see the shadows of the peloton reform. It was looking good for these two. Christen and Bettiol looked really good as they entered the outskirts of Zakopane, but we knew we had an uphill rise to the finish had they tried too hard too soon. It's one of those days where Alberto Bettiol was looking at his absolute best, really making Jan Christen work to stay with him in actual fact. It's a race that so far Astana haven't been able to get that much out of, despite Max Canter sprinting pretty well. Well, talking of sprinting, this is the point at which Matt Winston and I started to think, well, hang on a minute, we're not seriously going to see a sprint finish here in the mountain of the Tatras. The last winner here anyway was Jonas Vingegaard when the race last finished in Zakopane. But we started seeing the shadows of familiar riders. Ben Turner being brought up, Andrea Baggioli as well. Ben Turner in the white points leaders jersey as well. And suddenly we noticed the yellow jersey of Matthew Brennan back there. There he was on the right, and watch the speed with which he comes up. Michał Kwiatkowski leading out Ben Turner, but just as happened the other day, before Ben Turner could open up, then came Matthew Brennan. Brennan immediately gapped everyone, but then also watch the white jersey of Ben Turner coming up behind him. Turner closing and closing on Matthew Brennan. But you know, it wasn't enough. Matthew Brennan has taken 9 professional victories in his career, and they've all come this year, of course. He is quite remarkable. He started this week as a 19-year-old. He'll end it as a 20-year-old because it was his birthday 2 days ago. What a way to celebrate. Look at the speed as he came past that lead out by the former world champion Michał Kwiatkowski. Ben Turner was very impressive. He's already won a stage, of course, in Wałbrzych, but he was second yesterday when Paul Magnier ripped past him, and the same thing happened again today. A British 1-2 in the ski resort of Zakopane, and a memorable one, I suspect, for Matthew Brennan, who keeps defying classification. Is he a sprinter? Is he a climber? He's already won the Tour of Norway this year. Is there anything this young guy can't do? There's the top 10. Brennan from Turner, Baggioli again riding well, the Italian leading in. Lots of Italians in that top 10 on a day like this. So Matthew Brennan taking the win ahead of Ben Turner. 2 Brits ahead of Andrea Baggioli, the Italian, for Lidl Trek. And the general classification looks like this as well. Paul Lapera hangs on to that lead into the final bunched road stage tomorrow before Sunday's time trial with only 8 seconds over Victor Lancelotti, the Monegasque rider for Ineos Grenadiers. It's going to be a fascinating weekend as well. They'll be ready to battle for it. Jan Christen, I'm absolutely certain, will be trying to throw all sorts of fireworks in the direction of the others. You're going to have to join us this weekend to find out how it all unfolds. Join me, Jez Cox, and Matt Winston all weekend as we see how this one is going to end.